So soy, become the motor.
Hey folks, welcome to SanDiego, California. And we're in the neighborhood of La Jolla. And the boys are checking out the gear. It's time for elevator up on a tiny little lump that has a beautiful monument at the top called Mt.Soledad. Mt.Soledad is a small little stand-up spike, and it's great training grounds for anybody wanting to stand up spike Palomar or Diablo or Tamalpais or Latigo Canyon Road, those kinds of things. This summit's going to be in the neighborhood of 20 plus minutes. Not too much, not too little. Get yourself a ride down and times 3. And once you're accelerating at the very top on your third summit, then you know you're ready to go to Palomar or Latigo Canyon Road up in Malibu and summit there. So it's late in the afternoon. There's a lot of rush hour here. Half of this summit is going to be with rush hour, standing up spike out of La Jolla and continuing on up, and things will get a little less trafficy towards the top. But this is the spring-winter season. A lot of construction going on this particular road, and there was a lot of gravel, so that was a little disconcerting. And certainly nobody that's beginner should be stand-up spiking out here in traffic. You want to cut your chops a little bit. What you're watching is expert stand-up spike athletics. Stand-up spike, of course, is one of the 3 strokes of SpikeBoarding. The other 2 would be inside Kubicross or ICXC, and of course Kubicross, which is CXC. So the 3 strokes of SpikeBoarding are SUS, stand-up spike, ICXC, and CXC. Strokes, very similar to swimming where there's 4 strokes. SpikeBoarding has 3 strokes and a couple little variations on how to connect all the strokes together, and of course a bunch of one-armed work. But boy, one day somebody might be able to one-arm Soledad. I don't see it happening with people in this weight category, and you're looking at about a 198-pound athlete, meatball of a man. And there's a King of Mountain prize to beat this particular athlete head-to-head on some of the bigger summits. So all you swimmers and obstacle course racers, look into that, and we'd be happy to give you more information on how to race in stand-up spike. The device being used is a skateboard spike, and that same spike tip is the one that cross-country roller skiers use at NCAA, Olympic training, and World Cup racing. So this pavement has a bit of an unusual mix, a little bit of high rock, and that's what will happen. That slipping that you're seeing is because of the slightly higher rock content in the pavement. All pavement has different rock percentage content, and that's going to affect the grip of the carbide into the asphalt. Certainly not got anything to do with temperature, because the temperature is delightful out here. This is February, early February 2019, and we've gotten ourselves into a little bit of a bike lane there, so that's nice. And we're just climbing right here, doing a little faster speed than the rush hour traffic. And the sport is a variation of the double pole in cross-country skiing. So cross-country skiers engage their core and their lats. They keep their arms at 90 degrees. And notice the technical aspect of the stroke does not require a forward catch. I'm going to repeat this. There is no forward catch on land. And that is because it would be futile to try to reach forward and insert your shaft into a place that can't be inserted. The most that you can do is use a spike tip and grab just a fraction of a millimeter, spiking to the rear, the vector line to the rear. So enough said on that. Best you can do is ski, and that's been going on for thousands of years, and skiing has been a one shaft pursuit for thousands of years. You can go ahead and look that up. So what you're looking at is a variation of cross-country skiing simplified onto a board. Very casual, super casual, using a skateboard spike. No straps on that device. This is not a ski pole. This is a skateboard spike made by the Sasoi company and used for the sport of SpikeBoarding. So up we go. These pictures couldn't be more beautiful. We're so happy to have some sunshine. We actually canceled the trip the week before this. As you all know, out in California, the winter is the rainy season. But why go to the land of sun and make videos without sun? We've made a few. We got caught out in SanDiego and a little bit in Los Angeles, but here we are. Probably one of the most beautiful days, late afternoon, that we got. And of course, this little rise, even though it is small, will begin to allow us to have a nice view of the Pacific. And having the Pacific at your back will always give you power. Okay guys, let's talk about this climb. And this climb is going to have a little bit of a crux. So it's not easy pieces, and it's going to make you cry just a little bit and wonder whether or not you can make it. But of course you can, because you are not going to worry about making it. You're going to worry about load time. So the load time out here is way under 1 hour. So just try to imagine that you're going to be up this summit in less than 45-50 minutes, and probably under a half an hour, and then you are going to feel fantastic. Now, you're not going to come out here on day one, as we said. You're going to practice other little lumps in your local area. What we want you to do is remember that you want to be successful in everything that you summit. Not only does that help your brain, but it also helps you calculate what your body is capable of. So don't go out to summits, little ones or big ones or any ones whatsoever, without fully realizing that you have the capacity to make it. Because otherwise you're misjudging what you're capable of doing and your adaptation to stand-up spike sport. And if you're successful in summiting every single thing that you ever approach, you will be delighted, and it will empower you during the crux period of any other of the climbs that you're doing. So stand-up spike can beg quite a bit of you. Here we are flattened out. This is no problem. It's probably just a tiny little rise here because we're not zipping too fast, but this is mellowed out. And then we're going to come up here and begin to work on the harder part of this climb, which is about 10 minutes or so. And then we'll pan out and take a left-hand turn, and after that it's just a fundamental question of a little more work, and then it's all over. But there was some of that gravel we're talking about. So this climb here is the one that we knew, but there's probably a little ways to go winding around all over the place up through La Jolla, and you might want to take those. Might be a little more scenic, and of course the pavement's going to be a little nicer as well, and you're not going to have all of this this pebbly situation that's going on. But on this particular day it was a little pebbly, so as you can see we're really staying to the rear of that board and letting the front wheels roll over any of those pebbles that we might be encountering. And here we go, we're going faster than the traffic, so not bad at all, I'd say. And we're coming up on this harder part of the crux that's going to really make us cry just a little bit. And when that happens, again, you don't want to be looking up at what's coming at you. You want to know what's there, but you don't want to be constantly focusing up the mountain because that isn't going to help you. What's going to help you is just to realize load time. So by now, we're only got about another 15 minutes to go. And if you focus on load time and focus on staying relaxed and focus on your form, that is what's going to help quite a bit. So as you can see, when we climb stand-up spike, you're going to pull your elbows in, and make the formation of your arms a little bit more of a diamond. As you can see there, one arm actually works very well, and that's something that you can only achieve with skiing. So that's why it is skiing, because you can spike with one arm. So on the water, you could not do that. So please don't confuse this in any way, shape, or form with what might somebody be doing on water. You can't paddle pavement. You need to ski it, and you certainly can't paddle with one arm. That pretty much proves it right there. So the vector line goes to the rear. And all that traffic has flushed out. Everybody's gone their separate ways. They've turned, they've gone somewhere. And that's no problem, but as you can see, there's all the pebbles from the construction. There's some construction equipment down there by the side. I think they're laying in a new pipe or something like that, so just our luck. So more than likely they'll be done with this soon. And if you guys get out here, there'll be a lot less pebbles, but little torn up side of the road situations like this one, wow, it just gets pebbles all over the mountain. And they are disconcerting, to say the least. They'll zap your power, and they'll zap your concentration like crazy. And they were doing that to us, so it just made everything just a little harder. But the weather was making up for it. That's for darn sure. So you're looking at an athlete that has summited quite a bit all over the country, everywhere from Whiteface Mountain to Tamalpais, Lookout Mountain in Golden, Colorado, outside of Denver, and is an athlete that's been doing this since 2015, and the sport began in 2010, and serious stand-up spiking began in 2015 on Mount Tamalpais in Marin County, California, and that summit is quite a beast, but 90 minutes, a little under 90 minutes, but it will make you know that you're alive. But these stand-up spike sessions, again, a little summit like this, you get a friend, call an Uber, have them pick you up at the top, have your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend pick you up at the top, take you down, multiply this times 3. Probably want to start multiplying it by 2 to begin. And then if you're doing this times 3 once a month, plus of course other weekly training, you know you're going to be fine once you get out and begin to do bigger summits. And when you do these bigger summits, they'll just make you feel like a new person. First thing a new person needs is do another stand-up spike summit. So swimming, it's going to help. You're swimming like crazy. And also climbing, rock climbing, mountaineering, all you ski mountaineers, this is going to help you a lot. Folks here in San Diego and the LA area, you are going to have cross-country skiing very close by. You have groomed trails only 2 hours away, and this sport will help you begin to roller ski if you ever wanted to. So if you want to roller skiing is a tall order, much taller than SpikeBoarding, and it'll get your upper body completely ready for roller ski, and then you can zip off and go start doing some snow skiing, which is a really good time. And everybody who's into triathloning and obstacle course racing and all these kinds of things, if you want to mix it up, this is the land of year-round training. So you can really cook your brain when you participate in only one sport. We participate in at least 5 others. Keep our mind fresh. You're looking at a 55-year-old master athlete. SpikeBoarding is a delicious sport to add into the lineup, and it mixes in very, very well. Mixes in very well with cycling. So here is part of the crux. We're doing some good work here. Notice how we're doing quite a bit of perspiring. So make sure when you come to these summits, you have known how to get yourself hydrated. So when you start to do big work like this, you're going to do repeats here and do 90 minutes of them. You're going to need quite a bit of hydration, and for every half hour or so, you're probably going to need to drink 16 to 20 ounces of fluid replacement with electrolyte as well, or you could begin to have a bad time. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a pitch here, and doesn't get crazy. It doesn't get bring you down to nearly zero speed like some summits will do, and then you're just at the mercy of your self-arresting, and you're just going to inch forward for a couple centimeters at a time. So it's not too bad, and just focus on the work, focus on the loose and the tight, tight and the loose, loose, tight, loose, tight, loose, tight. And during the loose period, really let your body relax a lot. And of course, try to get your jaw into a very sort of babbling sort of situation. If you babble, when you babble that lower jaw, when you babble it, just let it hang loose. The rest of your body will follow in a relaxed way. So try to do that constantly during that loose phase of the return. What you want to try to do is get your return stroke back as quickly as possible. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to increase your tempo for speed, but getting your return back as quickly as possible is going to help you with your rolling speed. And the idea is to keep rolling, not come to a stop like we almost did right there. But as we said, we're having some problems with these pebbles, and that is what is doing it, and also keeping our camera bike in place. Believe it or not, the athlete is having to focus and concentrate a great deal on the camera positioning. The camera is not positioning itself. The athlete is positioning themselves for the camera, and of course the bicycle rider is not looking backwards, so they can't gauge the framing of this. So these are some of the harder parts of the climbs. As you can see, we went around that concrete. You cannot spike concrete, and right when we switched, you notice that we went to just about a full self-arrest and then just started to keep it going. Those are the moments you need to remain very, very calm and have confidence that things are going to get a little flatter and a little easier. And again, time, people, time. So keep your eyes peeled on the time code and know what your time loads are going to be. And anything under an hour is cheesecake. It's pretty easy. So marathons have been run in this country for a long time, folks. And those who are running under 2 hours 15 are gods. Very few people are running 2:15 marathons. So most of you watching this, if you do run marathons, you're running 4-hour marathons or 3-hour marathons. 3 hours, that's really fast too. So load times using the upper body on land are not common to see, and therefore people make all manner of judgment. But the amount of power that can come out of your upper body is sensational for human propulsion. And as you can see, this is some of the harder work that we're doing. It doesn't look quite that steep, does it? It's a very funny little climb. When you drive it, you look at it, you say, oh, it's not too steep at all. But then when you get to it, it's a little steeper than you might think. And it does require some dedicated work to get up here. So again, these pictures are very nice in the afternoon. Beautiful day to summit Soledad. And of course, all you high school coaches and who are watching this, if you've got wrestlers, if you've got fast-moving backs in the football game, in the hockey game, all those fast-moving players, they do not need to gain weight. They need to get stronger, and they need to get faster. So getting faster and getting stronger is about functional conditioning. So full functional strength and conditioning, and that's the beauty of this activity. And you can take your athletes, find some summits, put a van at the top, put a bike right behind them, monitor them as they come up, toss them into the van, drive down, multiply times 2 or 3, and they are going to get ripped and enjoy it quite a bit. And once you become acclimated to stand-up spiking, it becomes a lot like cycling. Some people might look at uphill cycling and think it's the most boring thing in the world. Go ahead and ask any cyclist, and they're going to tell you, no, I don't want to move to Kansas. Why? Because it's pan flat. and riding pan flat is just not too exhilarating. It's not too fun at all. It's the same with spikeboarding and stand-up spike. You want to have elevation and some lumps to go up, and the beginning of something challenging is about the size of Soledad and also Helix. We will show you a summit at Helix, which is a little shorter than this one, although the traffic is a little more challenging because there is no bike lane and you're just going to ride next to the shoulder in Helix. But it does travel through a beautiful neighborhood, but not as big a road. And some of the things are a little steeper, a couple more little turns and things like that. Both of them are about the same size. So for fun, you could actually do Soledad and drive yourself over to Helix. And there's a good park spot down in Helix, right near the highway. And then to get yourself down, you could either walk it or call an Uber or have someone drive you down. Or if you want, have a bicycle like we did. And when we come down, we just take the bicycle and either go down and get the car, pick up the rider, or just put our hand on their back. And here comes some touring cyclists on e-bikes. God, that guy looked a little young to be on an e-bike, but maybe he's a tour guide here for these folks coming up. And they're flying and one-handed on the handlebars, so obviously they're not doing much work on those e-bikes, but hey, they're just out touring around. But it's nice to see people on bikes other than cars, that's for darn sure. So up we go, continuing here. We're going to get to a light up here really soon, and then we're going to take a left, and all of the hard work will be mostly done except for some acceleration toward the top. You want to be accelerating at the top of these climbs. You shouldn't be flat or be dying. If you are, then go back to smaller climbs and do a little more preparation there. So wow, look at those bushes. They've got some nice landscaping there. And as you can see, the mountains take you up and you begin to have the sky kiss your helmet as you get closer and closer to your target zone. And here we go. Yep, this is going to be the left-hander, so we're just going to slip into this traffic and swivel around and slide right into this stop sign and keep our feet on the deck. If you can keep your feet on the deck as much as possible, that is good. When we begin to race, there will be time penalties and stand-up spike for dismounting, and that ought to be pretty interesting. Because the fact is, the steering is a big component of stand-up spike, and it's something that we didn't speak about as we were coming up. But steering the board, those little tiny turns left and right, when there is that much demand upon the body, it's a little more tricky than you might think. And sometimes you'll have the slightest dismount, and if two athletes were here duking it out as hard as they could, and one of them actually had the misfortune of stepping off the deck and putting a foot on the ground, they would receive a time penalty, and then that would be awfully interesting to watch the racing, wouldn't it? So imagine a 10-second time penalty between two athletes that were head-to-head, and the other athlete would need to actually break open a 10-second gap and win by at least 10 seconds plus, right? So here you can see some of the compression that's going on, and that can happen when you have a little cleaner pavement. And we do have much cleaner pavement right here. We'd almost consider it like a pillow top, a little bit of a misspike, but it's much nicer pavement than we had on these lower slopes. And we're just slowing up here. Obviously, there is a light, and we're staying on the deck. I don't think there's too many more lights that I remember. It's just going to be this one, and getting a little respite there. So it's not exactly the kind of summit that you're going to be racing against because of these lights. And of course, you could calculate the neutral, but of course, if you had somebody behind you, they'd need to stop right where they were, right when they saw you stop. So it's a training lump. It's a nice little training lump, and it's beautiful at the top. That cannot be denied. You can be able to see the Pacific and see all of SanDiego all around. And once you jump into this park, you get a nice reprieve from the cars. There's not all this car traffic, so you can focus into your innermost truth and power without any distraction. and begin to focus on finishing your summit as you would like. So tick, 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 up we go. We haven't been counting the cadence. Cadence usually stays between 4 and 20 in stand-up spike. It's a symmetrical sport. You want to learn it symmetrically, and it isn't one-sided, and it's never on the back side. So notice how that spike is on the front side of the athlete, and then we're going to pull one foot back, switch, and take the skateboard spike, boom, straight over to that other side. And that is a consequence of having practiced symmetrical stand-up spike pardon me, for all of the beginner and intermediate times, and all of this will begin to get fluid as you go. So beginner probably takes about 9 months, 12 months of beginner in stand-up spike, and by then you're going to begin looking similar to this, a little less fluid, but with all these videos and all the coaching that's available, within 9 months you should be stand-up spiking very well, and possibly not with this much power. It really depends on your size as well. Stand-up spike, light people are gonna fly, zing up just a little bit faster. And when we begin to lay this racing out, rest assured that we will have weight categories. It's a little illogical to have heavier people compete against lighter people. It doesn't happen in wrestling, and it doesn't happen in boxing, and it doesn't happen in many sports, and certainly in stand-up spike climbing. We would love the big folks and smaller folks to all have a chance to compete fairly and really dig into the sport and love it quite a bit. Unlike cycling, where the climbers, I guess there's so much cycling, or it started so long ago and nobody ever gave it much mind, that there is so much cycling available, and there's so many events that are available that everybody's body size can compete at something or other. But certainly in road cycling, heavy people are not going to compete in KOM racing. But since we're just beginning, we'd like to think that we could get KOM and QOM stand-up spike racing going for every single body size, because it is a delicious sport. And but in the beginning, right now, those of you that are lighter than 190 pounds, you ought to have a shot at this particular athlete. So there's a good $8,000 KOM on the prize, laying out on offer. And for women, as soon as we get 5 to 6 women ready to compete, there's equal amounts of money. And of course, we've heard that in California they're looking to legislate that, which we think is a really good thing. That's why we started our sport completely even in prize money on day one. So here we are into this little park where our monument is going to be, and there we have the Pacific again. And as you see, there's a little bit left in the tank to finish this off, and you always want to have something left in there. You don't want to be finishing dying, otherwise reduce your size and get yourself a little more prepared. You can always add, you cannot subtract. So don't show up played, wasted, and without an ability to hold your form tight. That's what you want to do. You want to do that in running or cycling or any sport. Is kind of the same. But wow, this is really beautiful. I remember being there. We're narrating this now from a different location, and man, do we miss Southern California. What a great place for spikeboarding. Folks, stand up spike, core out your door. Spikeboarding is the sport of balanced strength. Spike hard, spike often. Spikeboarding, and we will see you at the next one. That's a beautiful monument, isn't it? Be well, guys. So long.